While my husband drops $87,000 on a Tiffany diamond necklace for his mistress, I'm quietly finalizing documents that will cut off his access to the Caldwell family trust he believes I know nothing about. As he plans their romantic weekend at the Four Seasons Maui using our joint savings account, I'm orchestrating the biggest reality check of his privileged life. He has no idea that his financially naive wife has been the acting trustee of his family's fortune for the past 2 years. I'd love to know which corner of the globe you're watching from. And if this story speaks to you, make sure to subscribe. Tomorrow's video is one you absolutely can't miss. My hand remains perfectly steady as I sign another document, a quiet smile playing at my lips. Through the window of my attorney's downtown office, I can see the luxury jewelry store where my husband Jason is currently shopping for his mistress, Rebecca. The irony isn't lost on me. The same store where he bought my engagement ring 6 years ago. The same store that just texted me a receipt confirmation for an $87,000 purchase on our joint credit card. Mrs. Caldwell, are you absolutely certain about the timing? Sophia, my lawyer, watches me with a mixture of admiration and concern. Her tortoiseshell glasses catch the afternoon light as she organizes another stack of documents. We could wait until... I turn my phone toward her, showing Jason's latest Instagram story. The timestamp reads, 4 minutes ago. The caption, creating memories that last forever. Blessed living my truth. The photo shows a champagne flute at the jewelry store's VIP lounge, his grandfather's restored Omega Seamaster visible in the frame, the one I helped track down for his 35th birthday last year. The timing, I say, signing another paper with, flourish is perfect. My phone buzzes with a text from Jason. Working late tonight, babe. Big client presentation. Don't wait up. Love you. I've saved every message like this from the past 7 months. Each one corresponds perfectly with a credit card charge at high-end restaurants, boutique hotels, or designer stores. The ones he doesn't know I've traced. The ones that match exactly with Rebecca's suspiciously lavish Instagram posts, each tagged with not-so-subtle hints about her generous mystery man. What they don't know is that I've known for months, every business dinner, every client emergency, every suspicious withdrawal from our joint savings account. I've documented it all. But unlike most betrayed wives, I didn't confront him. I didn't throw his designer clothes onto the front lawn or key his precious Tesla. Instead, I did what I do best. I followed the money. This one, Sophia points to a particular document, will initiate the trust fund audit once you sign. There's no going back after this. I think about this morning, how Jason kissed my forehead before leaving for work, how he promised we'd plan that trip to Maui soon. Meanwhile, I'd already seen the reservations he'd made, not for us, but for him and Rebecca next month, paid for with our savings. Good, I say, my signature flowing across the paper. That's exactly what I want. My phone lights up with another notification, an Instagram story from Rebecca showing off a distinctive blue Tiffany box, captioned, "When he knows exactly what you deserve." I screenshot it, noting the time and date. It matches perfectly with the purchase notification from our joint account, the one Jason thinks I never check. The forensic team will begin their investigation Monday morning, Sophia explains, organizing the papers. Given what you've already uncovered about the trust fund manipulations, they'll find twice as much as we already know. I finish for her, pulling up a folder on my phone. Here's every transaction he's tried to hide through that fake investment company he set up. The one where Rebecca mysteriously became a financial advisor 3 months ago, despite her only experience being as an event coordinator for a local brewery. Sophia's eyes widen as she scrolls through the documents. This is incredibly thorough. I had a lot of free evenings, I say dryly. You know, with all his client meetings. As if on cue, my phone buzzes with a group chat notification, our friends planning a weekend barbecue. Jason responds immediately. Sorry, everyone. Have to skip. Flying to Chicago for business. I have to suppress a laugh. I know about that business trip, too. I've seen hotel reservations in Hawaii, first class. Tickets for 2, charged to our joint credit card. Last one, Sophia says, sliding the final paper across the desk. This initiates the full trust fund investigation. Once you sign this, I don't hesitate. My signature flows across the paper, years of anger and betrayal channeled into each curve and line. Another notification pops up. Jason going live on Instagram from what's supposed to be his client meeting, the jewelry store's distinctive decor visible in the background. Let them celebrate, I say, standing up and smoothing my dress, the one Jason bought me last month out of guilt. By Monday morning, they'll have a very different story to share. Sophia gathers the papers, her expression both impressed and slightly unnerved. You know, in 15 years of handling trust fund disputes, I've never seen anyone quite as prepared? I suggest picking up my bag, or maybe just tired of being underestimated. As I walk out of the office, my phone buzzes one last time. Jason, sending his nightly check-in. Miss you, beautiful. Can't wait to come home to you. I smile, typing back, sleep well, darling. Monday's going to be interesting. He'll think it's just another loving message from his unsuspecting wife. But then, again, he always did underestimate me. That's about to become his most expensive mistake. Little does he know, while he's been playing his games, I've been playing a much longer one. 2 years ago, when his grandfather had a heart attack, I was the one who helped reorganize the family's estate planning. Jason was too busy with his networking events to attend the meetings. He never bothered to read the updated trust documents, the ones that made me, his trophy wife, the primary trustee of the Caldwell family fortune. Monday morning can't come soon enough. The morning after signing those initial papers, I dressed with meticulous care, an Armani silk blouse, tailored Burberry skirt, and the David Yurman necklace Jason's mother gave me last Christmas. The mirror reflects exactly what Jason expects to see. His perfectly polished wife, the former English literature major he loves to introduce as his beautiful but financially clueless partner at family gatherings. If he only knew I spent 4 years managing equity portfolios at Morgan Stanley before we met. Good morning, darling, I call out as he stumbles into our marble kitchen, clearly hungover from last night's client meeting. The coffee machine hums quietly, filling our $3.2 million Beacon Hill townhouse with the aroma of his favorite Ethiopian. Roast! I made your breakfast. He kisses my cheek, reeking of expensive cologne and guilt, the same cologne I noticed on Rebecca's latest Instagram post from their accidental run-in at Saks yesterday. You're too good to me, babe. If only you knew, I think, sliding his coffee across our Carrara marble counter, the same counter where I'd sat until 2 a.m. last night on a secure video call with Michael, my old colleague from Morgan Stanley. Michael, who now heads their private wealth management division. Michael, who nearly spat out his whiskey when I showed him what I'd found in Jason's private trust fund transactions. Another early meeting? I ask innocently, watching him check his phone. His lock screen is still our vacation photo from Napa last summer, but I know his background is Rebecca. I've seen it reflected in his car window when he texts her during our dinner dates. Yeah, the Patterson portfolio is killing me. He runs a hand through his perfectly styled hair, distracted. The Patterson portfolio that doesn't exist. I've already confirmed the Pattersons moved their wealth management to Goldman Sachs 8 months ago. Don't work too hard, I say, squeezing his shoulder. He doesn't notice me taking a photo of his phone screen in the reflection of our Wolf Range's chrome surface, capturing Rebecca's message about their lunch plans at the new French bistro downtown. After he leaves, I transform our home office into my command center. The framed photos of our wedding at the Boston Public Library disappear into drawers, replaced by printouts of bank statements, trust fund documents, and property records. My friend Olivia, a trust fund attorney I've known, since our Harvard days, sits cross-legged on my custom West Elm carpet, surrounded by papers. Jesus Christ, she mutters, holding up a document. Did he really think he could hide these trust fund withdrawals behind a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. He registered it under his childhood Labrador's name, the one that died 12 years ago. Olivia shakes her head, adding the paper to our growing evidence pile. Men like him always think they're the smartest person in the room. That's because they never bother looking around, I reply, pulling up another document on my laptop. Look. At this, every time he meets Rebecca, he files it as a trust fund management expense. 5-star hotels with a woman who's supposedly advising him on legacy wealth planning, despite not knowing the difference between a stock and a bond. My phone buzzes, a group text from our friend Charlotte about her upcoming charity gala at the Museum of Fine Arts. Jason responds immediately with another excuse. Rebecca, I notice, has already marked herself unavailable on the event's planning. Committee list. They're getting careless, I observe, adding another screenshot to my collection. Have you talked to Judge Wilson yet? Olivia asks, referring to our friend who oversees trust fund disputes in Suffolk County. I nod, pulling up an encrypted email chain. She's ready. The moment we file on Monday, she'll randomly schedule an emergency hearing about suspicious trust. Fund activities. The same hearing that will reveal Rebecca's company has been receiving trust fund payments for consulting since before she even met Jason. My phone lights up with Jason's face, his daily check-in call. I answer with practiced cheerfulness, listening to him lie about his lunch meeting while I stare at their restaurant reservation confirmation in my email, the same email account he set up for me, thinking I'd only use it for online shopping. Miss, you too, honey, I say, watching Olivia roll her eyes. Don't forget we have dinner with your parents tonight. A lot of love and effort went into bringing this story to life. If you're enjoying it, we'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to our channel. Now, back to where we left off. He pauses and I can practically hear him texting Rebecca to reschedule. Of course, babe, I won't miss it. After hanging up, I turn to Olivia. He'll cancel in about 3 hours. Emergency trust fund meeting. How can you be so sure? I pulled up Rebecca's Instagram story from this morning. A cryptic post about a special sunset surprise at the new rooftop bar at the Liberty Hotel, because I know their routine better than they do. The rest of the day unfolds like a carefully choreographed ballet. I attend my regular board meetings at the Arts Foundation, where I serve as a trustee, make appearances at my usual lunch spots, even get my nails done at the salon where Jason's sister goes. Everything is normal. Everything is routine. No one would suspect that in my Bottega Veneta briefcase, I'm carrying documents that will dismantle a decade of Jason's careful deceptions. Right on schedule at 4:32 p.m., Jason texts, "Baby, I'm so sorry. Might have to rain to check dinner with my parents. Emergency meeting with the trust fund advisors." I respond with just the right amount of disappointment and understanding, watching through my phone's banking alerts as he makes a dinner reservation at Sorolina, his and Rebecca's favorite spot for their business strategy sessions. The trust. Fund advisors haven't scheduled any meetings, I say to Olivia, who's still reviewing documents. I would know. I'm the one who approves their calendar. Look what just came in, Olivia says, holding up her phone. Rebecca posted a photo of champagne glasses at sunset, the Liberty Hotel's distinctive skyline view unmistakable in the background. Perfect, I say, adding the screenshot to our collection. That receipt will match beautifully with the emergency business dinner he's about to charge to the trust fund account. As evening falls, I sit in our meticulously decorated living room, surrounded by evidence of Jason's double life and my own careful documentation. Every lie, every secret meeting, every hidden trust fund withdrawal, all of it meticulously cataloged and cross-referenced. My phone buzzes with another Instagram notification, Rebecca wearing a new Gucci dress that costs more than her supposed monthly consulting fee, captioned with a single diamond emoji. I save it to the folder marked Monday and pour myself a glass of Chateau Margaux from the collection Jason thinks only he has access to in our wine cellar. Let them have their romantic evening, I murmur, scanning through the latest trust fund report Michael sent over. Let them think they're the clever ones, playing their little game of hide-and-seek with the naive wife. I've spent months building this facade of ignorance, and in less than 48 hours, I'll have the pleasure of watching it shatter, along with everything else they thought they could take from me. The forensic accountants finished their preliminary review just after midnight. Olivia calls from her office, her voice tight with disbelief. You're not going to believe what they found in the offshore accounts. I join her via secure video call, my heels clicking against our Italian marble floors as I move to the home office. On her laptop screen, a complex web of transactions unfolds, a masterpiece of financial deceit that would be almost impressive if it wasn't so staggeringly arrogant. He's been transferring trust fund money through 4 different shell companies, Olivia explains, highlighting various transactions, all registered under variations of his dog's name, then funneling it through Rebecca's fake consulting firm and into private accounts in the Cayman Islands and Singapore. I lean closer to my screen, a cold smile playing on my lips. Show me the dates of the first transfers. Olivia pulls up a timeline and my smile widens. Just as I thought. He started moving money the day after his grandfather made me trustee. He never even bothered to check who had final approval power. My phone chimes with a message from Jason's mother, Eleanor. Darling, are you and Jason still coming for brunch tomorrow? I've had Marta prepare his favorite soufflé. Poor Eleanor Caldwell, still believing her son is the same responsible young man who followed his grandfather's footsteps into wealth management. Wait until she discovers how her precious boy has been treating her family's 5-generation fortune. What about the trust fund bylaws? Olivia asks, pulling up another document. Article 8, Section 4, I quote from memory. Any trustee or beneficiary found to be engaging in actions that endanger or diminish the family's financial legacy can be immediately suspended from access pending full investigation. Olivia's eyes gleam. And with Rebecca's social media trail, every post, every photo, every location check-in, all matching perfectly with trust fund withdrawals and consulting payments, I confirm, pulling up a carefully curated folder on my laptop. They've documented their own misconduct better than we ever could. My phone lights up with another check-in from Jason. Just wrapped the emergency meeting, baby. Might be a late one. So much paperwork to review. I text back. Don't work too hard, darling. Make sure you eat something. Through the window, I can see the lights of the Liberty Hotel, knowing they're up there right now, celebrating what they think is their perfect deception. Jason probably congratulates himself on how skillfully he's managed to hide his withdrawals from the trust fund. Rebecca, no doubt, is already planning how to spend more of the Caldwell family money. Sophia just confirmed, Olivia says, checking her phone. Judge Wilson has cleared her morning calendar. The moment we file, she'll expedite the hearing. I nod, walking to our floor-to-ceiling windows. The Boston skyline sparkles back at me, a constellation of lights that seems to mirror the intricate web of evidence we've woven. Emily? Olivia's voice turned serious. Are you absolutely sure about the timing? We could wait until after his grandparents' anniversary party next weekend. His whole family will be there. I turn back to her, thinking of the invitation I'd helped. Eleanor Design. The lavish celebration is planned at the Fairmont Copley Plaza, where Jason intends to announce his new role as primary manager of the family's investments. The same party where he and Rebecca plan to accidentally meet, beginning their public story with a meet-cute his mother would approve of. The timing, I say, picking up another stack of documents, is exactly right. Let him stand in front of his entire family, ready to make his big announcement. Olivia raises an eyebrow. Right before Judge Wilson's bailiff serves him with the trust fund suspension papers? Poetic, isn't it? My phone buzzes again. A text from Rebecca to our charity committee group. So sorry to miss tomorrow's meeting, everyone. Last minute. Client emergency. The same meeting where we're supposed to discuss the annual Caldwell Family Foundation Gala. I add the screenshot to our evidence file, then pull up the trust fund's latest statement. The numbers that Jason thinks only he understands glow on the screen. If he'd ever bothered to really look, he'd have noticed that every transaction, every transfer, every withdrawal has required dual authentication for the past 2 years. One code from him, one from the trustee. Me. I've watched every dollar he's tried to hide, every account he's attempted to obscure, every lie he's built his house of cards upon, all while playing the role he assigned me. The beautiful, naive wife who couldn't possibly understand the complexities of wealth management. His grandfather's office just confirmed. Olivia checks another message. Board meeting scheduled for 9 a.m. Monday. Jason is supposed to present the new family investment strategy. I smile, remembering the fabricated reports he's been working on, the fake projections he's created to hide his mismanagement of the trust fund. Perfect. That gives Judge Wilson's team plenty of time to arrive by 9:30. My phone lights up one final time for the night. Jason sending a photo of paperwork scattered across his office desk. Actually, the Liberty Hotel's distinctive stationery. Visible in the corner. Still grinding, baby. Don't wait up. I text back a single heart emoji, then turn to Olivia. Shall we finish preparing his wake-up call? For the next few hours, we meticulously review every document, every piece of evidence, every single detail of what's about to unfold. By the time Olivia leaves, the sun is starting to rise over Boston Harbor, painting our living room in shades of gold that match the embossed letterhead of the Caldwell Family Trust. I hear Jason's key in the door around 6:15 a.m. He tries to be quiet, but his Ferragamo loafers still click against the marble floors. I'm already in the kitchen, perfectly dressed, makeup flawless, starting the coffee maker. You're up early, he says, trying to hide his surprise and the faint trace of Rebecca's signature Joe Malone perfume on his collar. Thought you could use some breakfast after your late night, I smile, sliding him a cup of coffee. Must have been some important trust fund business. You know how it is. He waves vaguely, not meeting my eyes. Sometimes these things can't wait. Oh, darling, I think, watching him check his phone under the table, no doubt messaging Rebecca about their close call. You have no idea how right you are. Just 48 more hours until Monday morning, when they learn exactly what happens when you mistake silence for ignorance and underestimate the woman you thought you'd fooled. Sunday passes in a blur of final preparations. Jason spends most of the day at the gym, though his location tracker, which he doesn't know I can access, shows him at Rebecca's downtown apartment. I use the time to coordinate with Sophia, Olivia, and Michael, ensuring every detail is perfect. For tomorrow's reckoning. The Caldwell board members have all confirmed attendance, Michael reports during our secure call. Not one suspects anything is amiss. And Jason's grandfather? I ask, reviewing the final documents. Still believes he's coming to hear his grandson's brilliant new investment strategy, Sophia confirms. The old man will be devastated when he learns the truth. I feel a momentary pang of sympathy for Harold Caldwell. At 82, he's still sharp, as attack, but this betrayal by his only grandson will hit him hard. But then I remind myself, it's Jason who's betrayed him, not me. I'm simply bringing that betrayal to light. The trust fund audit team is on standby, Olivia adds. They've already flagged multiple irregular transactions based on your initial documentation. I nod, satisfied. And Judge Wilson? Her clerk called. The emergency hearing is set for 10 a.m., but she's dispatching her bailiff to the board meeting at 9:30 with the preliminary injunction. Perfect timing for Jason's big moment. As evening falls, I prepare a special dinner, all Jason's favorites. He returns home around 8 p.m., surprised to find candlelight and fine china awaiting him. What's all this for? he asks, kissing my cheek with practiced affection. Just felt like celebrating my amazing husband, I reply, pouring him a glass. Of the wine he thinks costs $800 a bottle but actually costs 3 times that. Another financial detail he's never bothered to learn. After all, tomorrow's your big presentation to the family board. His expression shifts, a flash of guilt quickly masked by confidence. You're the best, babe. Always supporting me. If only you knew, I think, raising my glass in a toast. To get exactly what you deserve. He clicks his glass against mine, interpreting my words as genuine support rather than the warning they truly are. I couldn't have gotten here without you. At least that part is true. Later that night, as Jason sleeps soundly beside me, I lie awake, reviewing tomorrow's sequence of events in my mind. 2 years of planning, months of evidence gathering, all culminating in one perfect moment of justice. I should feel nervous, but instead, I feel eerily calm, like a chess player who's already envisioned every possible move and countermove, knowing checkmate is inevitable. I finally drift off around 3 a.m., dreaming of balance sheets and justice. Morning arrives with perfect timing. I wake at 6 a.m., though I've barely slept for 4 hours. Jason is already up, nervous energy radiating off him as he paces our bedroom in his boxer briefs, practicing his presentation. The Caldwell legacy is entering a new era of prosperity, he rehearses, adjusting his tie in the mirror. Under my guidance, our family's investments have shown remarkable growth. All lies, of course. The only remarkable growth has been in his and Rebecca's personal accounts, funded by trust fund money. You're going to be amazing, I encourage, selecting my outfit with surgical precision, a Carolina Herrera dress in navy blue, Eleanor's favorite, Louboutin heels, a guilt gift from Jason after a particularly expensive weekend with Rebecca, and his grandmother's pearl earrings, a symbol of the family trust he's about to lose. Jason's phone buzzes repeatedly as we prepare. I pretend not to notice when he steps into the bathroom to text Rebecca. When he emerges, I'm waiting with his favorite travel mug filled with coffee. For luck, I say, kissing his cheek. Thanks, babe. Will you meet me there? I want to get in, early to set up. I wouldn't miss it for anything, I promise, and for once I'm being completely honest. I'll be there by 9:15. After he leaves, I pull up the security feed from the Caldwell Group's offices. Amazing what being a trustee grants you access to. Jason is already there, pacing the boardroom, practicing his presentation in the reflection of the windows. On another screen, I watch Rebecca enter her favorite coffee shop, no doubt planning to celebrate with Jason after his triumph. Everything's in position, Sophia texts. She's already at the courthouse with Olivia, waiting for the perfect moment. Judge Wilson is reviewing the final documents now. I check my watch. 8:15 a.m. Time to set the wheels in motion. My first stop is the Caldwell Group's private bank, where I've been a familiar face since helping reorganize their family estate 2 years ago. Jason never bothered to attend these meetings. Boring paperwork, he'd called it. His loss. Mrs. Caldwell, Thomas, the private banking director, greets me warmly. Everything is prepared as requested. I smile, taking a seat in his plush office. And the timing? He slides a document across his mahogany desk. The moment you send the signal, every account Jason has access to will be flagged for review. The trust fund auditors are standing by. Perfect. I sign where indicated, my Mont Blanc pen, another of Jason's guilt gifts, flowing smoothly across the paper. And his private accounts? The ones he thought were hidden? Thomas allows himself a small smile. Already under surveillance. The moment the trust fund suspension hits, those freeze too. My phone buzzes, a message from Eleanor Caldwell. Darling, I'm so proud of Jason today, and so grateful to have you as part of our family. You've been such a blessing. If she only knew how much of a blessing I was about to be, saving her family's Fortune from her own son's greed. 4:45 a.m. I enter the Caldwell Group's gleaming office tower, nodding to security guards who know me as the trustee's wife, not realizing I'm actually their superior. The elevator rides smoothly to the 42nd floor, where the family's legacy has been managed for 5 generations. Jason is waiting by the boardroom, practically bouncing with nervous energy. "You made it!" He kisses my cheek, and I catch a whiff of Rebecca's perfume still lingering on his collar. "I've got such a good feeling about today," he confides, straightening his Hermes tie. "Oh, darling," I murmur, adjusting his collar. "You have no idea how memorable today is going to be." The boardroom fills quickly with family members and executives. Harold Caldwell takes his place at the head of the table, looking every bit the family patriarch in his bespoke suit. If only his grandson had inherited his integrity along with his features. "Before we begin," Harold announces, "I want to thank everyone for being here for this momentous occasion. As you know, we're here to discuss the future of the Caldwell Family Trust, and my grandson Jason has prepared a comprehensive presentation on our new investment strategy." Jason stands, straightening his papers with practiced confidence. His PowerPoint presentation glows on the screen behind him, slides full of fake projections and manipulated numbers that took him weeks to fabricate. "Good morning, everyone," he begins, flashing his 1,000-watt smile. "Today marks a new chapter in the Caldwell legacy, 59 a.m. My phone vibrates silently in my lap. Sophia's message is simple. "Ready. 9 a.m. Jason clicks to his first slide, pointing out fabricated growth projections with practiced charm. "As you can see, our trust fund's performance under my guidance has been exceptional." At 1 a.m., I send a single text. "Now." The effect is immediate but subtle at first. Jason's phone buzzes in his pocket, probably a notification from his banking app. He ignores it, continuing his presentation. It buzzes again, and again, and again. 3 a.m. The boardroom door opens silently. Judge Wilson's bailiff enters, nodding to me imperceptibly. Behind him, 2 federal auditors take their places by the door. "Oh, and if you'll look at these returns," Jason continues, though his phone is now buzzing constantly, and he's starting to look distracted, shifting uncomfortably. "You'll see that our innovative approach to—" His voice trails off as he notices his grandfather checking his own phone, frowning deeply. Other board members are doing the same, their expressions shifting from polite attention to confused concern. 5 a.m. The bailiff steps forward, official documents in hand. "Mr. Jason Caldwell?" Jason turns, annoyed at the interruption of his big moment. "I'm in the middle of something here." "You are hereby served with an emergency injunction regarding the Caldwell Family Trust," the bailiff announces clearly, his voice carrying to every corner of the suddenly silent boardroom. "By order of Judge Wilson, you are suspended from all access to trust fund accounts and assets, pending investigation into serious allegations of misappropriation and fraud." The color drains from Jason's face as he takes the papers with trembling hands. His phone is still buzzing, probably notifications of his accounts being frozen one by one. "There must be some mistake," he stammers, looking around the room desperately. His eyes land on me, seeking support, reassurance, the naive trust he's come to expect. Instead, he finds me calmly opening my laptop, pulling up the folders marked evidence. "No mistake, darling," I say softly, turning the screen so the entire board can see. "Would you like to explain these transactions to your family yourself, or shall I?" The first image appears on the boardroom's main screen, replacing his fabricated presentation, a detailed spreadsheet of every dollar he's stolen, every lie he's told, every trust he's broken. Behind him, Harold Caldwell stands slowly, his face a mask of shock and growing fury. "Jason," his grandfather's voice is deadly quiet. "What is this?" Before he can answer, his phone buzzes one final time. He looks at it reflexively, and I know exactly what he's seeing. A notification that his access to all Caldwell family accounts has been suspended. Perhaps, I suggest, standing smoothly, we should discuss the real state of the family trust, starting with these unusual payments to a certain consulting firm. Jason slumps into his chair as I take control of the presentation remote. Behind him, the federal auditors begin, setting up their equipment. Through the boardroom's glass walls, I can see Sophia and Olivia arriving with boxes of additional evidence. The day of reckoning has only just begun. Let's start with this particular transaction, I say, clicking to the next slide. The boardroom. Screen fills with a detailed breakdown of a $275,000 transfer from the trust fund to Rebecca's consulting firm, made on April 12th, exactly one day after Rebecca's company was registered. Interesting timing, wouldn't you say? Jason's hands grip the armrests of his chair, knuckles white. Behind him, Harold Caldwell has switched from shock to cold fury, his jaw clenched as he watches his grandson's deceptions laid bare. Of course, I continue, clicking through to the next slide. That was just the beginning. Shall we discuss the offshore accounts registered under your childhood pet's name? Or perhaps the series of business development charges at the Liberty Hotel that coincidentally match perfectly with these Instagram posts? The screen fills with a carefully curated collection of Rebecca's social media posts side by side, with trust fund expenditures, times and dates perfectly aligned, each champagne toast, each surprise gift, each luxury weekend mathematically matched with a suspicious withdrawal. This is ridiculous, Jason finally manages, his voice cracking. These are legitimate business expenses. Grandpa, I can explain. Explain what, exactly? I interrupt smoothly, pulling up another document. How did you start embezzling from the trust fund the day after your grandfather made me trustee? Or should we discuss how you've been using family money to fund your affair while planning to divorce me? A gasp ripples through the boardroom. Eleanor Caldwell, Jason's mother, presses a hand to her chest, her face pale beneath her perfect makeup. Divorce? She whispers. Jason, what is she talking about? Oh, you didn't know? I turn to my mother-in-law with practiced sympathy. Jason and his financial consultant have quite the future planned. Booked with trust fund money, of course. Would you like to see the Maui reservations, the engagement ring receipt, or perhaps the draft divorce papers his lawyer drew up last week? Jason lunges for his phone, probably to warn Rebecca, but it's already too late. Through the boardroom's glass walls, we can see her being escorted into the building by federal agents, her designer handbag clutched to her chest like a shield. Perfect timing, I murmur, checking my watch. The FBI does run quite punctually. The FBI? Jason's voice rises an octave. What are you… Did you really think, I cut in, my voice carrying clearly across the stunned boardroom, that you could embezzle millions from a family trust fund without consequences? That no one would notice your creative accounting? Your grandfather made me trustee for a reason, darling. And unlike you, I actually read the financial reports. The federal auditors have set up their equipment now, efficiently downloading data from the company servers. Sophia stands at the ready with another stack of documents. The complete forensic accounting of every dollar Jason has stolen. Mrs. Caldwell, one of the auditors calls out. We've confirmed the initial findings. The pattern of misappropriation is consistent with your report. Your report? Jason's head snaps up. Who do you think has been documenting your theft all these months? I ask quietly. Who do you think has been tracking every lie, every secret meeting, every hidden transaction? The wife you thought was too naive to understand finance? The trophy you believed would never question your business meetings? His phone buzzes again, probably Rebecca being brought to the conference room for questioning. Through the glass, I can see her mascara-streaked face as she realizes the magnitude of their situation. I can fix this. Jason stands abruptly, desperation creeping into his voice. Grandpa, just let me explain. We can handle this internally. Sit down. Harold Caldwell's voice could freeze hell itself. You've done quite enough. Actually, I interject, pulling up another document, we're just getting started. Would anyone like to see the trust fund's true performance reports? The ones Jason has been hiding while presenting his creative fiction? The next hour unfolds like a perfectly choreographed dance. With each new revelation, each piece of evidence, each damning document, Jason shrinks further into his chair. His carefully constructed world of lies crumbles slide by slide, dollar by dollar. The Cayman Islands accounts have been frozen, Sophia announces from the doorway, and Judge Wilson has approved the emergency audit of all personal assets. Jason's head snaps up. Personal assets? You can't. Article 8, Section 4 of the Trust Fund Bylaws. I quote smoothly. Any trustee or beneficiary found to be engaging in actions that endanger or diminish the family's financial legacy can be immediately suspended from access to all related assets pending full investigation. Your grandfather insisted I memorize every clause when he made me trustee. Shame you never bothered to read them yourself. A commotion outside draws everyone's attention. Rebecca is being led to a separate room, her face a mask of panic as she realizes the serious nature of her situation. Through the glass, I watch her reach for her phone, probably to call the lawyer she thinks can save her. Don't bother, I call out, loud enough for her to hear through the glass. Your lawyer dropped you 20 minutes ago. Apparently, he has some concerns about being associated with trust fund fraud. Jason stands again, this time moving toward the door, but the federal agents shift smoothly to block his path. This is insane. You can't what? I ask, my voice deadly quiet. Protect the family's legacy from your greed? Prevent you from stealing more of your grandparents' trust? Fund? Or perhaps you're upset that I won't let you drain the accounts to fund your new life with Rebecca. I click to the next slide, and Jason actually flinches. It's a photo from last week. Him and Rebecca at Tiffany's, shopping for engagement rings. The trust fund withdrawal for the purchase still pending in the system. Engagement rings? Eleanor Bennett's voice is barely a whisper. While you're still married to Emily? Speaking of marriage, I continue, pulling up another document. Jason, darling, why don't you explain to everyone why you've been meeting with divorce attorneys? Or should I share the prenup dissolution papers you had drafted? The boardroom is deadly silent now, every eye fixed on Jason as he realizes just how completely his plans have imploded. His grandfather stands slowly, every inch the powerful patriarch whose legacy his grandson has betrayed. Get him out of my sight, Harold orders, his voice trembling with rage. And call the family lawyers, all of them. As security begins to escort Jason from the boardroom, his phone buzzes one final time. I know exactly what notification he's receiving. His access to the Caldwell family offices has been revoked, his keycard deactivated, his credentials suspended. One more thing, I call out just as he reaches the door. You might want to pack a bag when you get home. The townhouse belongs to the trust fund, and as of 9 minutes ago, you're no longer a permitted resident. Jason turns, his face a mask of disbelief. Where am I supposed to go? I smile, remembering all the nights I lay awake while he was with Rebecca, planning this very moment. Perhaps you could stay at the Liberty Hotel. Oh, wait, your credit cards have all been frozen. Well, I'm sure Rebecca would offer her sofa, but I glance meaningfully at the federal agents leading her to questioning. She might be a bit preoccupied. As Jason is led away, Eleanor Caldwell approaches me, tears in her eyes. Emily, I'm so sorry. We had no idea he was... It's not your fault. I squeeze her hand gently. You raised a good son. He just made very, very bad choices. Olivia appears at my side with another update. Judge Wilson wants to see you, and the forensic accountants have found 3 more offshore accounts. I nod, gathering my things as the federal agents continue their work. Through the glass walls, I can see Jason being escorted to the lobby, his world collapsing around him. His phone is probably exploding with notifications, frozen accounts, canceled cards, suspended memberships, revoked access. Mrs. Caldwell. One of the federal agents approaches. We'll need a statement about the trust fund discrepancies. Of course, I reply, smoothing my skirt as I stand. I believe I have everything you need right here. I pat my briefcase, filled with months of careful documentation, weeks of meticulous planning, and years of quiet observation. Jason thought he was so clever, playing his games with the family fortune while his trophy wife smiled quietly at his side. He never realized that sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one you should fear the most. The next few hours unfold like a perfectly orchestrated symphony of consequences. From my temporary office in the Caldwell Group's executive suite, Jason's former office, ironically, I watch the dominoes continue to fall through multiple screens and live feeds. His attempt to access the Cayman accounts was just denied, Olivia reports, monitoring the financial alerts. He tried using his backup passwords, the ones he thought nobody knew about. I smile, remembering how easy it was to find those passwords, scribbled in his private notebook, the one he kept in his secret safe behind our bedroom's Monet painting. How many attempts? 8 so far, each one triggering another alert to the financial authorities. My phone buzzes with a notification from our home security system. Jason has arrived at the townhouse, probably hoping to grab some essentials before the locks are changed. Through the camera feed, I watch him frantically shoving designer suits into his luggage. The same suits I helped him select, each one paid for with trust fund money he'll soon have to account for. Should we tell him about the asset freeze? Olivia asks, watching the feed over my shoulder. Let him figure it out, I reply, turning my attention to another screen showing the federal investigators interviewing Rebecca. Her confident facade has crumbled completely now, mascara streaking down her face as she realizes the full implications of her role in Jason's scheme. Mrs. Caldwell, Sophia enters with a fresh stack of documents. The family's private bank just called. They've completed the initial audit of Jason's personal accounts. I raise an eyebrow. And? He's been skimming from more than just the trust fund. They found irregular transfers from his grandmother's medical care account, his sister's, children's education fund, even the family's charitable foundation. Eleanor Caldwell, who's been sitting quietly in the corner trying to process the morning's events, lets out a small sob. The children's education fund? His own nieces and nephews? I move to comfort my mother-in-law, the woman who welcomed me into her family with open arms 6 years ago. We've already reversed the transfers, Eleanor. The children's futures are secure. My phone lights up with another notification. Jason trying to check into the Four Seasons using his black card. I can almost see the color drain from his face as the card is declined. Through various feeds and alerts, I track his increasingly desperate attempts. The Ritz-Carlton, declined. The Mandarin Oriental, declined. The Boston Harbor Hotel, declined. His lawyer just dropped him, Sophia announces, checking her messages. Apparently, he tried to pay the retainer with one of the frozen accounts. The firm has concerns about being paid with potentially fraudulent funds. A commotion in the hallway draws our attention. Through the glass walls, we see Rebecca being escorted out by federal agents, her designer handbag now filled with copies of her sworn statement. The look she shoots toward Jason's former office could freeze hell itself. She gave them everything, Sophia confirms, reviewing the preliminary report. Every meeting, every transaction, every promise he made. Turns out self-preservation trumps loyalty when federal charges are on the table. My phone buzzes again. A group text from our social circle about the upcoming charity gala at the Museum of Fine Arts. Jason's sister Elizabeth has already removed him from the planning committee. His name disappears from the guest list in real time, his social world crumbling as quickly as his financial one. The trust fund audit team just found something interesting, Olivia calls out, her eyes wide as she reads from her tablet. Remember those business development trips to Bermuda? I turn to her, intrigued. The ones where he claimed to be meeting with private banking clients? He was actually viewing properties, high-end villas, all conveniently far from extradition treaties. They found incomplete purchase agreements on his company laptop. Eleanor's head snaps up. He was planning to run? With our family's money? But don't worry, I confirm gently. He won't get the chance now. As if on cue, my phone shows another alert. Jason's passport has been flagged. No international travel without court approval. His world is shrinking. By the minute, his options disappearing one by one. The family's crisis management team is ready, Sophia informs us. They've prepared statements for the press, the banking community, and the social registries. I nod, pulling up the draft announcements. On my laptop, the careful wording presents the Caldwell family as victims of Jason's deception, while emphasizing their swift action to protect the family legacy. No mention of my role, exactly as I planned. Emily, Eleanor speaks up, her voice stronger now. The annual Family Foundation Gala is next month. With Jason's situation, perhaps you should take over as chair? Before I can respond, my phone buzzes with an urgent message from the townhouse security team. Jason is trying to access his home office safe, the one he thinks contains emergency cash and backup credit cards. Don't worry, I assure Eleanor, watching Jason's frustrated attempts through the security feed. I already emptied that safe last week. Everything of value is secure in the family vault. Olivia's tablet pings with another update. The forensic team just found his deleted emails. You're not going to believe what he was planning for after the divorce. I turn to the large screen on the wall, now displaying a complex web of Jason's intended post-divorce financial manipulations. Even I'm impressed by the audacity, if not the intelligence, of his schemes. He was going to claim the trust fund violated tax laws, Olivia explains, highlighting various documents. Threatened to report irregularities to the IRS unless the family paid him a massive settlement, Eleanor gasps. He would blackmail his own family? He would try, I corrected her, pulling up another document. But that would have been difficult, considering I've had tax experts reviewing and certifying every trust fund transaction for the past 2 years. My phone lights up with another notification, Jason's attempt to access his cryptocurrency accounts. Sorry, darling, I murmured to the screen. Those wallets were transferred to the family's secure digital vault last week, along with everything else you thought you'd hidden so cleverly. Through the office windows, I can see the sun setting over Boston Harbor, painting the sky in shades of amber and gold. In the reflection, I catch glimpses of federal agents still combing through files, forensic accountants tracking down every missing dollar, and family lawyers protecting generations of Caldwell wealth from one man's greed. Mrs. Caldwell, a senior federal investigator, approaches. We found evidence of potentially criminal transactions dating back 6 years. We'll need your statement about when you first noticed irregularities. I retrieve a carefully prepared timeline from my briefcase. I believe you'll find everything documented here. Every transaction, every unauthorized transfer, every attempt to circumvent trust fund protocols. As the investigators continue their work, I receive one final notification for the day. Jason, having been denied access to every luxury hotel in Boston, has checked into a modest airport motel, paid for with borrowed cash since his accounts remain frozen. Should we tell him about tomorrow? Olivia asks, referring to the emergency family council meeting where Jason will be formally removed from all Caldwell family enterprises. I shake my head, watching his location dot on my phone's map, so far from the privileged world he's always known. Let him sleep tonight thinking he can still fix this. Tomorrow's revelations deserve a fresh audience. Eleanor stands, gathering her composure along with her Hermes bag. Emily, we can never thank you enough for protecting the family's legacy. I finished gently. Eleanor, when you welcomed me into your family, you made me Caldwell. I protect what's mine. As the office slowly empties, I remain at my desk, surrounded by evidence of Jason's betrayal and my own careful preparation. On one screen, I watch him pacing in his motel room, probably trying to figure out how his perfect plan imploded so spectacularly. On another, I see Rebecca checking into a flight to her parents' home in Wisconsin, her dreams of becoming Mrs. Caldwell evaporating like morning mist. My phone buzzes one last time, Jason trying to salvage something from the wreckage of his life. "Baby, please, we need to talk. I can explain everything." I smile, thinking of all the nights I lay awake listening to his lies about working late, while I quietly built the case that would bring him down. "No need to explain, darling," I text. Back. The federal investigators have all the explanations they need. Then I turn off my phone, gather my things, and prepare to head home to the townhouse that now belongs solely to me. Tomorrow will bring more revelations, more consequences, more dismantling of Jason's carefully constructed house of cards. But tonight, I'll sleep soundly in our king-sized bed, alone but victorious, while my husband learns what happens when you mistake quiet patience for weakness and underestimate the woman who held the real power all along. Tuesday morning brings the kind of headlines you can't buy with PR spin. Caldwell. Ear suspended from family trust amid fraud allegations. Scandal rocks Boston elite. Trust fund manipulation. Scheme exposed. Society stunner. Trophy wife saves family fortune. I read them all from the comfort of my home office in the townhouse, sipping the rare Himalayan tea Jason always claimed was too refined for my palate. The irony of enjoying his precious collection while watching his world burn isn't lost on me. "The private banking community is in an uproar," Olivia announces, entering with a fresh stack of financial papers. 4 other prominent families have already requested audits of their own trust funds. Apparently, Jason's scheme has everyone questioning their own financial managers. "His mother's on her way up," Sophia adds, checking her phone. "The doorman just called." I nod, setting down my teacup. Eleanor Caldwell has always been the family's emotional compass, and I know this meeting won't be easy for her. "Emily," Eleanor sweeps in, still elegant despite her obvious distress. "The press, have you seen the latest? They're calling it the trust fund takedown of the century." I guide her to the sitting area, noting how her eyes linger on the empty spaces where Jason's photos once hung. The media will move on to the next scandal soon enough. What matters is protecting the family legacy. "The forensic accountants found something else," she says quietly, pulling out a folder. "Something worse." I take the documents, though I already know what they'll show. Jason hadn't just been stealing from the trust fund. He'd been systematically looting his own family's personal accounts, his sister's children's college funds, his grandmother's medical care reserves, even his parents' retirement accounts. We knew he was troubled, but this— Eleanor's voice breaks. "His own family. Everything will be restored," I assure her, pulling up the recovery plan I'd prepared months ago. Every account has been reconciled, every stolen dollar traced and returned. My phone buzzes with an update from the federal investigation team. They've found Jason's secret storage unit in Cambridge. Inside, boxes of falsified documents detail years of financial manipulation, all the evidence they need for criminal charges. "Mrs. Caldwell," my assistant calls from the doorway. "Mr. Jason is in the lobby, demanding to be let up. He's not taking no for an answer." I pull up the security feed on my laptop. Jason, disheveled and desperate, is arguing with the doorman. His Hugo Boss suit, the one he wore to so many client meetings with Rebecca, is wrinkled from a night in the airport motel. "Should I call security?" the assistant asks. "No need," I reply, pressing a button on my phone. "The police are already on their way. Anonymous tip about a person of interest in a federal fraud investigation causing a disturbance." Eleanor flinches at my words but doesn't object. Even a mother's love has its limits. The Trust Fund Council is meeting in an hour. Olivia reminds me, checking her calendar. They'll want your statement about assuming emergency control. I nod, gathering my materials. In the background, my screens show multiple scenes unfolding simultaneously. Jason being escorted from the building by police, Rebecca giving another tearful interview painting herself as another victim of his deception, federal agents boxing, up evidence from his office, society columnists speculating about the scandal's impact on upcoming charity gala season. Emily, Eleanor says suddenly, there's something I need to tell you about why Harold made you a trustee 2 years ago. This is one piece of the puzzle I never fully understood. We knew, she says simply, about Jason's tendencies. The impulsive spending, the risky investments, the constant need for more. Harold saw it happening at the company, watched him taking bigger and bigger risks with other people's money. So you needed someone to protect the family fortune from your own son, I finished quietly. Eleanor nods, tears in her eyes. We interviewed dozens of financial experts, considered professional trustees from all the top firms. But Harold said we needed someone Jason would underestimate, someone he'd never suspect of watching his every move. The trophy wife he thought he'd chosen for her looks rather than her mind, I add, understanding dawning. When we learned about your background in finance, your experience with private wealth management, Eleanor manages a small smile. Well, let's just say Harold has always had an eye for talent. My phone buzzes again, more updates flooding in. Jason's membership at the Algonquin Club revoked, his position on the hospital board suspended, his private banking privileges at multiple institutions terminated, his invitation to next month's charity gala rescinded. His lawyer sent over a proposal, Olivia mentions, holding up another document. He's offering to sign a full confession in exchange for a monthly allowance from the trust fund. I almost laugh at the audacity. Let me guess. He still thinks he has something to negotiate with? He's claiming he has evidence of historical trust fund irregularities, says he'll go public if we don't meet his demands. This time I do laugh, pulling up a particular file on my laptop. You mean these documents? I turn the screen to show decades of pristine trust fund records, each transaction verified, each decision documented, the ones I've had independent auditors reviewing and certifying for the past 2 years. Through the window, I watch as Jason is driven away in a police car, his final attempt at blackmail failing as spectacularly as his other schemes. On my other screens, the Caldwell family's financial empire continues operating smoothly, the transition of power already complete. The family council is ready, my assistant announces. They're waiting in the main boardroom. I gather my things, preparing to officially accept control of the Caldwell family's financial future. Eleanor stands with me, straightening her shoulders with renewed strength. Emily, she says softly, thank you. Not just for stopping him, but for saving him from himself. If he'd continued much longer, the damage would have been irreparable, I finished. I know. That's why I had to act now. As we head to the boardroom, my phone shows one final notification, Jason checking into an even cheaper motel, this time in Revere. How far the mighty have fallen. Mrs. Caldwell, Sophia calls out. Judge Wilson's office just confirmed the emergency hearing is set for tomorrow morning. They'll want your full testimony about the trust fund manipulation. I nod, already prepared. My evidence is organized, my statement drafted, my strategy in place. Tomorrow, Jason will learn the full extent of his mistakes. Not just the financial theft, but the fatal error of underestimating the woman he married. Last thing, Olivia adds, the family's PR team wants to know how to handle the press. They're calling you everything from financial avenger to trust fund guardian. Tell them no comments, I reply, stepping into the elevator. The numbers speak for themselves. As we ascend to the boardroom, I think about the day Jason first brought me home to meet his family, how he introduced me as his beautiful English literature graduate, emphasizing my looks while dismissing my mind, how he never bothered to, read the trust fund documents, never questioned why his grandfather chose his new daughter-in-law as trustee. His last text message still sits unanswered on my phone. "Please, baby, just tell me what you want. I'll do anything." Too late, Jason. Too late by exactly 2 years, 4 months, and 12 days. The time it took me to document every lie, trace every theft, and prepare for this moment of perfect justice. The boardroom doors open, revealing the assembled Caldwell Family Council. Time to show them exactly why Harold chose me to protect their legacy, and why Jason's biggest mistake wasn't stealing from the trust fund, but underestimating the woman who controlled it all along. Wednesday morning brings a new round of revelations. The emergency hearing before Judge Wilson is scheduled for 10 a.m., but I arrive at the courthouse by 8:30, accompanied by Sophia, Olivia, and Michael. The corridors are already buzzing with reporters and curious onlookers. Nothing attracts attention in Boston like old money in crisis. The trust fund forensic team submitted their final report, Michael informs me as we settle into a private conference room. It's worse than we thought. Jason wasn't just embezzling. He was leveraging trust assets as collateral for personal loans. I review the report, noting the increasingly desperate pattern of Jason's financial maneuvers over the past 3 years, like watching a gambler double down with each loss. And these loans, I point to a particularly troubling section. What were they for? Mostly to cover his earlier thefts, Sophia explains. Classic Ponzi scheme structure. He was stealing from one part of the trust to cover the holes he created. In another, his lawyer is trying a new angle, Olivia adds, checking her messages. Now he's claiming Jason suffered from financial addiction and requires treatment, not punishment. I almost smile at the transparent attempt. Let me guess. Treatment at an exclusive rehab center in Malibu? All expenses paid by the trust fund? Close. The Bahamas, actually. We're interrupted by a court officer. "Mrs. Caldwell? Judge Wilson would like to see you in chambers before the hearing." Judge Marianne Wilson has known the Caldwell family for decades. She and Eleanor were roommates at Wellesley. Her chambers reflect her no-nonsense approach. Minimal decoration, walls lined with law books, and a single photograph of her swearing in. Ceremony. "Emily," she greets me, setting aside her reading glasses. "I've reviewed the preliminary evidence. In 23 years on the bench, I've never seen such a thoroughly documented case of trust fund misappropriation. Thank you, Your Honor." "Harold made a wise choice making you trustee," she continues, studying me thoughtfully. "Though I imagine that's small comfort given the circumstances." "Justice will be comfortable enough," I reply. She nods, understanding. The sentiment. Jason's attorney has requested a private settlement conference. No press, no public record. I'm sure he has. "I'm denying the request," she says firmly. Financial misconduct of this magnitude requires transparency, particularly when it involves a family as prominent as the Caldwells. The hearing proceeds as scheduled. As we exit her chambers, I spot Jason and his new attorney huddled in conversation at the far end of the corridor. Gone is the confident financial wizard who dazzled Boston society. In his place stands a nervous man in yesterday's suit, his usual swagger replaced by a hangdog posture. He catches my eye and starts toward me, but security intercepts him before he can approach. The terms of the emergency injunction are clear: no contact with trustees or family members pending investigation. The main courtroom is already filling as we take our seats. The Caldwell family occupies the front row behind me: Harold and Eleanor, Jason's sister Elizabeth and her husband, various cousins and extended family members. Their unified presence sends a clear message. The family stands together, and Jason stands alone. Judge Wilson enters precisely at 10 House a.m., and the proceeding begins with clinical efficiency. The court reporter takes her position, lawyers arrange their materials, and the bailiff calls the court to order. "We're here on the matter of Caldwell Family Trust versus Jason Caldwell," Judge Wilson announces. This is a hearing on the emergency injunction freezing the defendant's access to all trust assets pending full investigation of alleged misappropriation and fraud. Jason's attorney rises first, Walter Drummond, known for representing wealthy clients in financial disputes. Your Honor, we believe this action is precipitous and unnecessarily punitive. My client has devoted his career to managing his family's assets. While there may be some accounting discrepancies— Discrepancies? Sophia interrupts, standing smoothly. Your Honor, we're prepared to demonstrate systematic theft exceeding $14.2 million over a 3-year period, elaborate attempts to conceal said theft through multiple shell companies, and documented plans to abscond with additional funds. Judge Wilson turns to Jason. Mr. Caldwell, do you understand the allegations against you? Jason stands, his normal confidence conspicuously absent. Yes, Your Honor, but there's been a misunderstanding. These were authorized investments. Authorized by whom? Judge Wilson asks. By myself, as a trust fund manager and beneficiary. I watch as Sophia signals to her assistant, who distributes bound packets to the judge and court clerk. Your Honor, Sophia continues. If you'll refer to Exhibit A, you'll find the trust fund bylaws, specifically Article 8, Section 4, which explicitly requires dual authorization for any transfer exceeding $50,000. One authorization from the manager, in this case, Mr. Caldwell, and one from the trustee, my client, Mrs. Emily Caldwell. The judge reviews the document carefully. And your contention is that Mrs. Caldwell did not authorize these transfers? Not only did she not authorize them, Your Honor, but Mr. Caldwell deliberately circumvented the authorization system by creating false verification codes. If you turn to Exhibit B, you'll see our forensic analysis of the authorization trail. As Sophia methodically presents the evidence, I watch Jason's face. Each new document, each revealed deception seems to physically diminish him. By the time we reach Exhibit G, the detailed breakdown of his offshore accounts, he's slumped in his chair, eyes fixed on the table before him. And furthermore, Your Honor, Sophia continues, the evidence indicates Mr. Caldwell was preparing to leave the country with misappropriated funds. Exhibit K shows property inquiries in non-extradition countries, and Exhibit L contains draft documents for transferring significant assets beyond U.S. jurisdiction. Judge Wilson turns to Jason's attorney. Mr. Drummond, how do you respond to these allegations? Drummond looks like a man searching for a lifeboat on a sinking ship. Your Honor, while my client acknowledges certain unorthodox financial maneuvers, we contend that his intentions were always to benefit the family trust. These were high-risk, high-reward investment strategies that— High-risk investments don't typically include $87,000 jewelry purchases for one's mistress, I comment quietly, but loudly enough to be heard. A murmur ripples through the courtroom. Jason shoots me a look of pure venom. Your Honor, Drummond continues, trying to regain control. We request time to prepare a comprehensive response to these allegations. My client has only recently retained my services, and we haven't had sufficient opportunity to review all the documentation. Mr. Drummond, Judge Wilson replies, her tone measured but firm. Your client has had access to all trust fund documentation for years in his capacity as manager. As for the evidence presented today, Mrs. Caldwell's legal team provided copies to your office 48 hours ago, as required by court procedures. She turns to me directly. Mrs. Caldwell, as current trustee, what outcome are you seeking from today's proceeding? I stand, facing the judge with calm certainty. Your Honor, the Caldwell family seeks 3 things. First, continuation of the EDD emergency freeze on all assets under Mr. Caldwell's control until a full accounting can be completed. Second, formal removal of Jason Caldwell from any position of financial authority within the family trust. And third, court supervision of the recovery process to ensure all misappropriated funds are returned to their rightful accounts. And criminal charges? the judge inquires. That decision rests with the district attorney's office, which has received copies of all evidence presented today. The family's primary concern is protecting the legacy that generations of Caldwells have built. Judge Wilson nods, then turns to Jason. Mr. Caldwell, do you have anything to add before I rule on the emergency injunction? Jason stands slowly, his composure cracking. Your Honor, I made mistakes. Serious mistakes. But this isn't just about money. This is my family trying to erase me. Emily has turned them against me out of what, Jason? I interrupt. Concern for your grandmother's medical care fund that you emptied? Protecting your nieces' and nephews' college accounts that you pillaged? Or perhaps you think documenting your theft of family assets while planning to divorce me shows undue malice on my part? The courtroom falls silent. Even Jason's attorney looks uncomfortable. Your Honor, Jason tries again. I can fix this. I just need time and— What you need, Mr. Caldwell, Judge Wilson states firmly, is a serious reality check. Based on the overwhelming evidence presented today, I am extending the emergency injunction indefinitely. All assets under your control remain frozen. You are removed from any position of authority within the Caldwell Family Trust, effective immediately. The court will appoint a special master to oversee the recovery of misappropriated funds. She looks at him over her reading glasses. And Mr. Caldwell, I strongly suggest you retain criminal defense counsel. Court adjourned. The gavel falls with finality, and Jason's last hopes collapse with it. As the courtroom begins to clear, he makes one last desperate attempt to approach me, but security intervenes again. Emily, please, he calls out, his voice cracking. We can talk about this. We can work something out. I turn to him calmly. You had 2 years to work something out, Jason. 2 years of lies, theft, and betrayal. Now you have a lifetime to think about the consequences. As I walk away, flanked by the Caldwell family, I hear Jason call after me. You planned this all along, didn't you? From the very beginning. I don't bother responding. Some lessons are better learned in silence. 1 month after the courthouse showdown, the dust has finally begun to settle. I sit in my new office, the corner suite that once belonged to Harold Caldwell, reviewing the latest trust fund performance reports. The Boston skyline stretches out before me, a glittering testament to generations of Caldwell family success that I helped preserve. The Wall Street Journal piece just went live, Olivia announces, entering with her tablet. Today's headline: Caldwell Trust Revival, How Strategic Oversight Saved a Family Fortune. Any mention of Jason? I ask, though I already know the answer. Only as a cautionary tale. They're calling it the ultimate case study in trust fund governance. Your quotes about financial responsibility are featured prominently. I smile, remembering the interview I'd given last week. I'd been careful to focus on the importance of proper oversight rather than personal drama. The Caldwells, after all, still have a reputation to maintain. My phone lights up with a notification from the federal prosecutor's office. Jason's plea deal has been finalized. In exchange for a reduced sentence, he's agreed to provide evidence against larger financial fraud schemes he'd become entangled with. His new accommodations are quite a step down from the Four Seasons, Olivia observes dryly, showing me the detention center's location. Though I hear the jumpsuit orange brings out his eyes. Rebecca sent another request, Sophia adds, entering with more papers. She's offering to write a tell-all about Jason's schemes in exchange for immunity. Tell her the federal prosecutors already have everything they need, I reply, pulling up our evidence files. Her Instagram posts provided more than enough documentation. Through my office windows, I can see the trust fund's investment team hard at work under my leadership. They've already recovered every dollar Jason stole, plus implemented new safeguards to prevent future manipulation. Mrs. Caldwell, my assistant calls over the intercom, the family council is ready for your quarterly presentation. I gather my materials, including the comprehensive recovery plan I've implemented since taking control. The numbers tell a story of resurrection. Assets secured, investments stabilized, legacy protected. Emily. Eleanor greets me warmly as I enter the boardroom. She's adapted to our new dynamic with remarkable grace, treating me more as a daughter than ever now that I've saved her family's fortune from her own son. The private banking community is calling you the trust fund whisperer, Harold adds with a proud smile. He's fully recovered from his heart surgery, thanks partly to the stress reduction of knowing his family's wealth is in capable hands. Speaking of community reactions, Olivia interjects, checking her messages. Jason's old social circle has been quite active. The Algonquin Club just voted to remove his name from the membership rolls permanently. I take my place at the head of the boardroom table, the same spot where Jason once practiced his fraudulent presentations. The symmetry isn't lost on me. Before we begin, I address the assembled council. I want to share some updates about our enhanced security measures. My presentation outlines the new system of checks and balances I've implemented, multiple layers of oversight, regular audits, transparent reporting. Everything Jason tried to circumvent, now strengthened beyond manipulation. The forensic team found something interesting in Jason's old files, Sophia mentions during a break. Love letters to Rebecca, written on trust fund letterhead. He was planning to propose at the family's holiday gala. How romantic, I commented dryly. Nothing says true love like embezzled diamonds. My phone buzzes with another update. Jason's lawyer making one last desperate attempt at negotiation. He's offering to reveal the location of more hidden accounts in exchange for a reduced restitution payment. Tell him not to bother, I instruct Sophia. We've already found everything, including the Bitcoin wallet he thought was untraceable. This year, afternoon brings a steady stream of developments. Jason's remaining club memberships canceled, his social media accounts suspended, his personal credit rating destroyed, his reputation in financial circles irreparable. His sister Elizabeth called, Olivia informs me. She's ready to sign over her children's trust fund oversight to you as well. Says she can't think of anyone better to protect their future. I accept the responsibility with a nod. The Caldwell. Children's futures will be secure, a stark contrast to their uncle's current situation. The media wants to know if you'll attend next month's charity gala, my assistant mentions. You're being honored for your work in financial oversight and trust fund governance. Confirm the attendance, I decide, but keep the focus on financial responsibility, not personal drama. As evening approaches, I review one final set of documents, the complete record of Jason's downfall, trust fund manipulation documented, personal account theft proven, federal charges filed, family reputation preserved, justice served. My phone shows one last notification for the day, Jason's final attempt to access his old trust fund accounts from the detention center's computer lab. Even now, he hasn't quite accepted his new reality. Should we tell him about the foundation? Olivia asks, referring to the new Caldwell Family Financial Literacy Initiative I've established. It's rather ironic, using recovered funds from his theft to educate others about trust fund responsibility. Let him read about it in the Financial Times, I reply, closing my laptop. I hear they are delivered to federal detention centers. Eleanor appears in my doorway, her eyes bright with unshed tears. Emily, we just got Jason's letter. He's finally apologizing, says he understands now what he lost. Too late, I observe quietly. By exactly 2 years, 5 months, and 15 days. We stand together at my office window, watching the sunset over Boston. Somewhere in a federal detention facility, Jason sits in a cell, probably wondering how his perfect life unraveled so completely. Somewhere in Wisconsin, Rebecca works at her parents' brewery, her dreams of society shattered like the trust she helped betray. And here I stand, in the office that once represented everything Jason thought he deserved, protecting the legacy he tried to steal. My phone buzzes with an incoming email, another financial publication requesting an interview about trust fund governance. They're calling you the new face of financial stewardship, Eleanor mentions, reading over my shoulder. The woman who modernized trust fund oversight. I smile, thinking of all the nights Jason spent explaining basic finance to his simple wife, never realizing he was lecturing a financial expert about his own impending downfall. The family lawyers want to know if you'll consider writing a book, Olivia adds, about protecting generational wealth from internal threats. Perhaps, I muse, gathering my things for the day. I certainly have enough material. As I prepare to leave, my security feed shows Jason's last possessions being removed from the townhouse. His beloved wine collection, his designer wardrobe, his carefully curated art pieces, all being liquidated to repay his debt to the trust fund. One last thing, Sophia calls out. The federal prosecutors want to know if you'll testify at his sentencing hearing next month. I consider this, remembering every lie, every betrayal, every moment he underestimated me. No need, I decide. The evidence speaks for itself. Stepping into my private elevator, I think about the day Jason first brought me home to meet his family, how he showcased me like a prize, never bothering to look deeper than the surface, how he dismissed my interest in the family business as cute. My phone holds his final message, sent through his lawyer this morning. I finally understand what you were protecting, what I threw away. I'm sorry. Too late, Jason. You never realized that the real power wasn't in the trust fund itself, but in the trust you betrayed. And now you have the rest of your sentence to contemplate the true cost of underestimating the woman who held your future in her hands all along. 6 months after Jason's sentencing, I stand at the podium of the Boston Financial Forum addressing a room full of the city's most prominent trust fund managers and financial advisors. The irony isn't lost on me. Speaking about financial security to the same people who once dismissed me as nothing more than a trophy wife. The greatest threat to generational wealth, I tell them, my voice carrying clearly through the grand ballroom of the Fairmont Copley Plaza, isn't external. It's the complacency that comes from believing your position is untouchable. The audience hangs on every word. After all, the Caldwell Trust Fund case has become required reading at top business schools. Mrs. Caldwell, one of the senior partners from Goldman Sachs, approaches after my speech. Your insights on trust fund. Governance are revolutionary. Would you consider joining our board of advisors? I smile, remembering how Jason used to explain basic investment concepts to me at parties like this. I'll have my office send over my credentials. Olivia appears at my elbow with updates from the morning's developments. 3 more family offices requesting our oversight protocols, 2 interview requests from financial publications, 1 desperate letter from Jason, still trying to explain, himself from federal detention. The Family Financial Literacy Foundation launch is trending, she adds, showing me her tablet. They're calling it a paradigm shift in trust fund management. My phone buzzes with a message from Eleanor Caldwell. The family's annual holiday gala is approaching, and for the first time in generations, it will celebrate not just wealth, but wisdom. The prosecutors sent over Jason's latest statement. Sophia joins us, tablet in hand. He's finally admitted to everything, even the schemes we hadn't uncovered yet. I take the tablet, scanning his confession. The depth of his betrayal still manages to surprise me. Hidden accounts in Dubai, shell companies in Luxembourg, plans to drain the family foundation. His cellmate says he spends his days reading financial journals, Olivia mentions. Apparently, he's finally learning about proper wealth management. Better late than never, I murmur. A notification pops up on my phone. Rebecca has resurfaced, this time teaching mindful money management at her parents' brewery in Wisconsin. Her Instagram bio now reads, "Surviving Toxic Wealth, My Journey to Authenticity." At least someone learned something, Sophia observes. The Trust Fund Council meeting is in an hour, my assistant reminds me. They're voting on the new governance structure you proposed. I gather my materials, including the comprehensive reform package I've spent months developing. The Caldwell family fortune won't just survive this crisis. It will emerge stronger, setting new standards for trust fund management. Emily! Harold Caldwell's voice booms across the ballroom. He's fully recovered now, his natural vigor restored once the stress of Jason's betrayal was removed. The Harvard Business School case study about your handling of the crisis just went live. I join him at a quiet corner table, accepting a glass of champagne. How's Eleanor holding up? Better, he sighs. The therapist says accepting Jason's true nature was the first step. Your protection of the family fortune gave her the space to focus on healing. My phone shows another alert. Jason's former office has been completely transformed into the Caldwell Center for Financial Governance. The plaque outside reads, "Protecting Legacy Through Wisdom." The family lawyers finished processing the last of his restitution payments. Sophia approaches with more updates. Every dollar he stole has been recovered and reinvested. Through the ballroom's windows, I can see the Boston skyline. The same view Jason used to boast about controlling from his corner office. Now, that same office serves as command central for protecting family fortunes from people like him. The financial media is calling it the Caldwell Standard. Olivia shows me another article. Your protocols for trust fund governance are being adopted by families across the country. I think about the day Jason first showed me his family's offices, how he patronizingly explained the concept of trust funds while I mentally cataloged every weakness in their security system. Your next appointment is here, my assistant announces. The Sullivan family's representatives want to discuss implementing your oversight systems. As I prepare for the meeting, my security feed shows one last image of Jason's former life being dismantled. His prized art collection being auctioned to repay his debt to the trust fund. The same collection he used to lecture me about. Never. Realizing I'd majored in both English literature and finance. Judge Wilson called, Sophia adds. She's recommending your case as required reading for financial court judges. Says it's the most comprehensive trust fund protection strategy she's ever seen. My phone buzzes with a notification from the Federal Detention Center. Jason has requested permission to enroll in online financial management courses. Trying to understand where I went wrong, his note reads. Should we tell him about the Foundation's new educational program? Olivia asks. The one teaching trust fund beneficiaries how to detect and prevent internal fraud? Let him figure it out, I reply, straightening my Chanel jacket. He always said he learned best through experience. Eleanor joins us, elegant as ever in her role as family matriarch. The Holiday Gala Committee has a suggestion. They want to honor you as guardian of legacy. I shake my head, remembering all the galas where Jason paraded me around like an accessory. No honors. The secured fortune speaks for itself. Through my phone, I watch various scenes unfold across the city. Federal investigators using my case to train new financial crimes specialists. Business schools teaching the Caldwell case as a masterclass in trust fund protection. Society columnists speculating about Jason's life behind bars. Financial advisors studying my oversight protocols. One last thing, Olivia calls out as I head to my next meeting. Jason's old social club is reopening their membership waitlist. Care to submit his replacement's name? I smile, thinking of all the times he used that club to impress his mistresses, flaunting the wealth he was secretly stealing. I have a better idea. Let's turn it into another foundation office. Something about financial literacy for future generations. The afternoon sun streams through the plaza's windows, catching the diamond on my left hand. Not my engagement ring from Jason, but my grandmother's ring, a symbol of true family legacy. On my desk, the latest trust fund reports show growth that would have been impossible under Jason's manipulation. Mrs. Caldwell, my assistant interrupts gently, the Wall Street Journal is here for your interview about transforming trust fund governance. I gather my thoughts, remembering every step of this journey. The quiet wife who watched and waited. The financial expert who documented every lie. The trustee who protected generations of wealth. The woman who refused to be underestimated. My phone shows one final notification for the day. Jason's lawyer making a last desperate pitch for leniency. He's a changed man, the message pleads. He understands now what he lost. Too late, I think, heading to the interview. Some lessons come at a price no trust fund can cover. As I take my seat across from the journalist, I catch my reflection in the window. No longer the trophy wife Jason thought he married, but the guardian of legacy he never knew he needed. The reporter's first question makes me smile. Mrs. Caldwell, how does it feel to have revolutionized trust fund protection? It feels, I reply, thinking of Jason in his cell, finally learning the true meaning of trust, exactly like justice. 1 year to the day after Jason's downfall, I stand in my office at Caldwell Tower, watching the sunrise over Boston Harbor. The view is different from up here, both literally and figuratively. The past year has transformed not just the Caldwell fortune, but the entire landscape of trust fund management. My phone lights up with the morning's first notification. Forbes magazine has just released their annual Power Players issue. The cover story: The Woman Who Changed Trust Fund Management Forever, Emily Caldwell's Revolution. The Times piece just went live too, Sophia announces, entering with her signature stack of updates. They're calling you the silent guardian of generational wealth. I scan the headline, amused by the irony. A year ago, these same publications barely noticed me, just another pretty wife in Manhattan's social circus. Now they're studying my methods in business schools. Jason's latest letter arrived, Olivia adds quietly, placing a thin envelope on my desk. Unlike his early desperate pleas, this one is different. A simple handwritten confession of every mistake, every betrayal, every moment of hubris that led to his downfall. He's finally completed the financial literacy program in prison, Sophia mentions, checking her tablet. Graduated top of his class, ironically enough. Says he finally understands what he was supposed to be protecting. Through my office windows, I can see the bustling financial district, the same streets where Jason once strutted like a prince, never realizing he was walking toward his own destruction. Now those same streets are home to a new era of financial governance, shaped by the lessons of his fall. The Caldwell Family Foundation's annual report is ready for review, my assistant announces. The new financial literacy programs have reached over 12,000 trust fund beneficiaries this year. I took the report, pleased to see the impact of our work. What Jason tried to destroy has become a beacon of financial wisdom, helping other families protect their legacies from similar threats. Eleanor's on her way up, Sophia informs me. The Family Council approved your proposal for the new trust fund governance structure. When my mother-in-law enters, she carries herself with renewed strength. The past year has changed her too, from a woman blindsided by her son's betrayal to a fierce advocate for financial accountability. Emily, she begins, emotion thick in her voice. The family wants you to know that what you've built from this tragedy, it's beyond anything we could have imagined. My phone buzzes with updates that underscore her words. 4 more financial institutions adopting the Caldwell protocols, 3 international banking conferences requesting keynote speeches, 1 prestigious Financial Security Award nomination. Rebecca sent another interview request, Olivia mentions. She's writing a book about financial infidelity. I want your perspective. I decline with a simple email. Some stories don't need more telling. They need understanding. The trust fund's performance. Reports are in, Sophia adds, pulling up the latest figures. Growth is up 37% since you took control. Every dollar Jason stole has been recovered and multiplied. Through my security feeds, I can see multiple scenes playing out. Business school students studying the Caldwell case, financial advisors implementing my protection protocols, trust fund managers reviewing their security measures, future generations learning from Jason's mistakes. His parole hearing is next month, Olivia reminds me gently. They want to know if you'll submit a statement. I consider this, remembering every step of our journey, the quiet wife who watched and learned, the expert who documented every lie, the guardian who protected a legacy, the woman who refused to be underestimated. Send them this, I decide, pulling up the trust fund's latest performance report. Let the numbers speak for themselves. Eleanor touches my arm gently. He asks about you, you know. In his letters. Says he finally understands what he had. Not just the money, but the trust. Some lessons, I reply, watching a new class of financial advisors enter the Caldwell Center for Financial Governance below. Come too late to change the past, but early enough to protect the future. My phone shows one final update. Jason's old office has been completely transformed into a state-of-the-art financial security center. The plaque outside reads, "Protecting Tomorrow's Legacy Today." The next generation of Caldwells starts their financial education program tomorrow, Sophia reminds me. Would you like to speak to them? I think about these children, Jason's nieces and nephews, the future of the family he betrayed. Thanks to our new protocols, they'll grow up understanding not just the privilege of wealth, but the responsibility of legacy. Tell them the truth, I decide, about trust, betrayal, and the price of underestimating those we dismiss. As the sun sets on another day in Boston's financial district, I stand at my office window, holding Jason's final letter. In it, he finally asks the question that took him a fortune and his freedom to understand. How did I not see who you really were? The answer, of course, was simple. He never looked past his own reflection. My phone shows one last notification. The Caldwell Family Trust Fund has just been named a gold standard in financial governance. The legacy Jason tried to destroy has emerged stronger, wiser, and more secure than ever. Mrs. Caldwell, my assistant calls out. They're ready for you in the boardroom. The next generation is waiting. I gather my materials, preparing to teach. Tomorrow's leaders the lessons learned from yesterday's mistakes. Through the window, Boston glitters like the fortune I protected. Beautiful, powerful, and worth every moment of patient waiting. As I head to the boardroom, I pass the wall of Caldwell family photos. Jason's portrait has been replaced by something more meaningful, a simple plaque that reads, "True wealth lies not in what we possess, but in what we protect." Some must learn this lesson through loss. Others are chosen to teach it through strength. In the end, Jason got exactly what he deserved. Time to contemplate the true cost of underestimating a woman he thought he could control. And I got what I earned. A legacy protected, a family restored, and a future secured by the quiet power of patient justice. The story of the Caldwell Trust Fund will be told for generations, not as a tragedy of betrayal, but as a testament to the strength that lies in being underestimated. And somewhere in a federal prison cell, Jason finally understands the most expensive lesson of his life. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one you should have feared the most. 2 years after taking control of the Caldwell fortune, I find myself in unexpected territory, literally and figuratively. I'm standing in the visiting room of the minimum security federal prison where Jason is serving his sentence. The decision to come wasn't easy, but Eleanor's plea was hard to ignore. Jason had been diagnosed with early-stage lymphoma, and while treatable, it had forced a kind of reckoning that his prison sentence alone had not. You don't have to do this, Sophia had reminded me that morning. Your legal obligations to him ended with the divorce. The divorce had been finalized 14 months ago, a quiet affair compared to the spectacle of his financial downfall. I'd kept the Caldwell name at the family's insistence. You've earned it more than he ever did, Harold had said. The visiting room is institutional and sterile. Muted colors, bolted-down furniture, and the persistent hum of fluorescent lights. I'm not nervous, just curious. What version of Jason would I find after all this time? He enters from a side door, thinner than I remember, the designer suit replaced by standard-issue khaki. The swagger is gone, replaced by a cautious demeanor I've never seen in him before. He stops short when he sees me, clearly not believing Eleanor's promise that I would actually come. "Emily," he says, his voice softer than I remember. "Thank you for—" He gestures vaguely at the room, unable to finish. "Eleanor asked me to come," I replied evenly. "She thought it might help your treatment to resolve some things." We sit at a small table. The guard gives us a perfunctory reminder about physical contact, none allowed, and moves back to his position by the door. "The doctors say my prognosis is good," Jason offers, as if answering an unasked question. 90% success rate with the treatment protocol. "I'm glad to hear that," I say, and surprisingly, I mean it. Despite everything, I've never wished him physical harm. "You've done amazing things with trust," he continues, his eyes fixed on the table between us. "The Financial Literacy Foundation, the new governance protocols, the scholarship program. It's all remarkable." "You follow the family news," I observe. A small, self-deprecating smile crosses his face. "When you lose everything, you pay attention to what might have been yours to protect." There's an uncomfortable silence. 2 years' worth of unsaid things, hanging between us. Finally, he looks up. "I didn't ask you here to apologize again. I've done that in letters, and I know words are cheap after what I did." He pauses, gathering his thoughts. "I asked to see you because I wanted you to know that I understand now, not just what I did wrong financially, but how completely I failed to see who you were." The irony isn't lost on me. It took losing everything. His freedom, his reputation, his family connection, and now, potentially, his health, for Jason to finally see me clearly. "You know what the hardest part of all this has been?" he asks, not waiting for my answer. "Realizing that you were exactly who I needed all along, smart, strategic, protective of what matters, and I was too busy playing games to notice." "I'm not here for your regrets, Jason," I say quietly. "Eleanor thought there were practical matters we should discuss regarding your treatment." He nods, accepting the deflection. "The prison healthcare system has approved my treatment protocol, but there are some experimental options that aren't covered." Mother thought. "The Caldwell Family Foundation has a medical care fund for family members," I interrupt. "You still qualify despite everything. I've already approved the additional coverage." Relief washes over his face. "Thank you. That's more than I deserve." "It's not about what you deserve. It's about doing the right thing." Another silence falls between us, less tense than before. I notice the financial textbooks peeking out of the small bag at his feet. "You're still studying?" I observe. "Teaching, actually," he replies. "Financial literacy classes for inmates. Most of them are here for financial crimes far less sophisticated than mine. And they take advice from you?" I can't help the skepticism in my voice. A genuine laugh escapes him, the first I've heard in years. Who better to teach about financial pitfalls than someone who destroyed a family legacy? I'm the ultimate cautionary tale. For a moment, I glimpse the charismatic man I married, the one who could charm a room before his darker tendencies took over. But there's something different now, a humility that was never there before. "Rebecca came to see me last month," he says, changing the subject. "She's engaged to some craft beer entrepreneur in Wisconsin. Seems happy." "Good for her," I reply, meaning it. Despite her role in Jason's schemes, Rebecca had been another player in his game. Not innocent, but perhaps not fully culpable either. She's using her experience with me in those mindful money management workshops she runs. Apparently, being the other woman in a trust fund fraud case makes for compelling seminar material. The guard announces that we have 5 minutes remaining. Jason straightens, suddenly businesslike. I've been developing something in here, he says, sliding a folder across the table. A fraud detection algorithm for trust funds. It would have caught someone like me within the first 3 suspicious transactions. I take the folder, surprised. You created this? I had time and first-hand expertise, he says with a shrug. The foundation can have it. No strings attached. Maybe it can help other families avoid what happened to ours. I study him, trying to reconcile this version of Jason with the man who nearly destroyed his family's legacy. Why would you do this? Because some debts can never be repaid, but that doesn't mean you stop trying. He meets my gaze directly for the first time. I'll never fix what I broke, Emily. I know that. But maybe I can help prevent someone else from breaking something just as precious. The guard approaches, signaling the end of our visit. I gather my things, tucking the folder into my briefcase. I never hated you, Jason, I say as I stand. I hated what you did, what you were willing to throw away. There's a difference. I know that now. His voice is quiet. For what it's worth, I'm proud of what you've built from the wreckage I created. The Caldwell legacy is safer in your hands than it ever would have been in mine. As I turn to leave, he calls after me one last time. Emily, thank you. Not for coming today, but for stopping me when you did. Another year, and there might not have been anything left to save. Walking back through the prison security checkpoints, I feel an unexpected lightness. Not forgiveness exactly, some betrayals go too deep for that, but perhaps something like closure. In my car, I opened the folder Jason gave me. The algorithm is impressive, elegant in its simplicity yet comprehensive in its approach. With some refinement, it could indeed become a valuable tool for protecting family legacies. As I drive back toward Boston, my phone rings through the car speaker. It's Eleanor. How did it go? She asks, concern evident in her voice. Better than expected, I reply honestly. He's changed. Do you believe it's genuine? I consider this as the Massachusetts countryside rolls past my windows. I think losing. Everything gave him the one thing he always lacked, perspective. Will you use his algorithm? After our security team vets it completely, I say. If it's as good as it looks, it would be foolish to discard it just because of its source. That's my wise daughter-in-law, Eleanor says warmly. Always practical, even in matters of the heart. After we hang up, I find myself reflecting on the journey of the past 2 years. The Caldwell fortune is secure, the family reputation restored, the governance system stronger than ever. What began as a mission of justice had evolved into something more lasting, a complete transformation of how generational wealth is protected. And as for Jason, perhaps his greatest contribution to the family legacy won't be what he almost destroyed, but what he learned from trying to destroy it. My phone buzzes with a message from Harold. Board meeting pushed to 3 p.m. The Princeton endowment team wants to discuss implementing our protocols. The work continues. Legacy isn't just something you inherit. It's something you build, protect, and pass on stronger than you found it. As the Boston skyline appears on the horizon, I make a decision. The algorithm will become part of the Caldwell Financial Literacy Foundation's resources, credited anonymously. Not to protect Jason's reputation, but to ensure the tool is judged on its merits rather than its creator's failings. Some mistakes can never be undone. Some trust can never be rebuilt. But wisdom can emerge from unlikely places, even a federal prison cell occupied by a man who once had everything and valued nothing. The Caldwell legacy continues, not despite Jason's betrayal, but in some ways because of it. His greatest failure became the catalyst for the family's strongest renaissance. And I, the woman he once showcased but never saw, continue to guide that renaissance, not as a trophy wife, but as the guardian his family legacy always needed. 3. Years after taking control of the Caldwell fortune, I stood at the podium in Harvard Business School's Klarman Hall, addressing a packed audience of graduate students, financial professionals, and trust managers. My lecture series on trust fund governance has become the most sought-after elective in the MBA program, with a waiting list 3 semesters long. The fundamental vulnerability in most family trust structures, I explain, gesturing to the complex diagram on the screen behind me, is the assumption that blood relation guarantees ethical behavior. The audience scribbles notes furiously. What began as a desperate measure to save one family's legacy has transformed into a revolutionary approach to financial security. The Caldwell Protocol addresses this vulnerability through what we call concentric authentication, multiple layers of oversight that expand beyond family connections. As I conclude my lecture, Dean Williams approaches. Emily, your case study has become our most requested teaching tool. Financial institutions from Singapore to Zurich are studying your methods. It's gratifying to see something positive emerge from such a difficult chapter, I reply, gathering my materials. My phone buzzes with a message from Sophia. SEC has officially adopted portions of the Caldwell Protocol for their trust fund oversight regulations, the most significant reform in generational wealth management since the 1940s. Outside, autumn has transformed Harvard's campus into a canvas of red and gold. I pause to take in the scene, struck by how profoundly my life has changed. 3 years ago, I was the underestimated wife documenting her husband's betrayal. Today, I'm reshaping how generations of wealth are protected worldwide. My driver waits by the curb. Back to the office, Mrs. Caldwell? Actually, Thomas, let's make a detour. I'd like to visit the MFA first. The Museum of Fine Arts has always been my sanctuary, a place where the Caldwell name and all its associated drama fades into the background. Today, I'm drawn to a new exhibition on Renaissance art, particularly a section featuring female patrons, who shaped artistic legacy through strategic patronage. As I study a Botticelli commissioned by a shrewd Florentine widow who parlayed her husband's fortune into lasting cultural influence, I sense someone approaching. The parallels are rather striking, aren't they? I turn to find Harold Caldwell studying the same painting, his eyes twinkling with that peculiar mix of shrewdness and warmth that first endeared him to me. I wasn't expecting to see you here, I say, genuinely surprised. At 85, Harold has reduced his public appearances, preferring the comfort of his Beacon Hill home to the bustle of Boston society. Eleanor mentioned your lecture at Harvard. I thought, I might catch you here afterward. He gestures to the painting. You always did seek out the women who turned calamity into opportunity. How are you feeling? I ask, noting the new walking cane and the slight tremor in his left hand. Well enough for an old man who's seen his family's legacy nearly destroyed, and then magnificently rebuilt. He offers his arm, and we move slowly through the gallery. I visited Jason yesterday. I maintain a neutral expression. Jason's cancer, treatment, diagnosed 18 months into his sentence, had been successful, his prognosis now excellent. While I'd visited only once during his illness, the Caldwell family had maintained contact throughout. How is he? Changed, Harold says. Simply. Not just the surface contrition of someone caught, but something deeper. He's teaching a financial literacy program now, not just to inmates, but remotely to at-risk youth. I absorb this information silently. The news doesn't surprise me. Jason's fraud detection algorithm, developed during his incarceration and anonymously integrated into the Caldwell Protocol after extensive vetting, had proven remarkably effective. It had already prevented 3 major trust fund frauds at other prominent families. The Mitchell Family Trust was saved last month, I observe. Their nephew was siphoning funds through a scheme nearly identical to Jason's. The system flagged it before he got past the first transfer. Harold nods, his eyes thoughtful. Poetic, isn't it? The sinner created a tool to prevent sin. I didn't incorporate his work out of sentimentality, I feel compelled to clarify. It was evaluated on merit alone, Of course, Harold agrees. But mercy and practicality aren't always separate virtues, Emily. We pause before another painting, this one showing a Renaissance banker kneeling in penitence, his worldly possessions scattered at his feet. He's being released next month, Harold says quietly. Earlier than expected due to his exemplary behavior and the success of his educational program. I nod. I'm aware. His lawyer notified me as a courtesy. What will you do? Harold asks, his tone gentle but direct. Continue as I have been, I reply evenly. The divorce was finalized 2 years ago. Our legal and financial entanglements are resolved. His future is his own concern. Harold studies me with the penetrating gaze that once intimidated boardrooms across New England. The world sees Emily Caldwell as she is now, the financial guardian, the trust fund revolutionary, the woman who transformed a betrayal into a triumph. But I remember the young woman who sat in my office 4 years ago, determined to protect not just assets, but principles. That woman hasn't changed, I assure. Him. No, he agrees, but perhaps her work has. Some legacies are measured in dollars, others in lessons learned. We complete our circuit of the gallery in comfortable silence. Outside, the autumn air has grown crisper, the afternoon light fading. Will you join us for dinner on Sunday? Harold asks as my driver approaches. Eleanor is planning something for my birthday, just family. The invitation hangs between us, loaded with meaning beyond a simple celebration. In the aftermath of Jason's downfall, I had maintained my position as trustee and financial guardian, but kept a certain emotional distance from family gatherings. I'd be honored, I find myself saying, surprising us both. Harold's face brightens. Excellent. Eleanor will be delighted. He hesitates, then adds, She worries about you, you know. We both do. I'm perfectly fine, I responded automatically. You're remarkably successful, he corrects gently. That's not always the same thing. Before I can respond, he pats my hand and walks toward his own waiting car, his cane tapping lightly against the pavement. Back at Caldwell Tower, I find Olivia waiting with updates. The Caldwell financial empire continues to thrive under my guidance, expanding into new markets while maintaining the security protocols that have become our signature contribution. Princeton University has finalized their proposal, she reports. They want to establish the Caldwell Center for Financial Ethics. Full endowment, academic independence, your name on the building. The family name belongs to any such institution, not just mine, I correct. Send me the complete proposal. I'll review it tonight. As evening approaches, I find myself returning to Harold's words at the museum. Mercy and practicality aren't always separate virtues. On impulse, I open my secure folder containing all communications related to Jason's case. Among them is a subfolder labeled Prison Correspondence, letters I've received but never answered. I open the most recent one, dated just last week. Emily, I've been informed that my release date is set for November 17th. After 4 years, 2 months, and 9 days, I'll walk out of here a free man. Though freedom means something very different to me now than it once did. The algorithm helped save another family legacy last month, the Mitchells. My cellmate showed me the Wall Street Journal article. Seeing something I created prevent the kind of damage I once caused brings a strange sense of redemption. Not forgiveness, I don't expect that, but purpose in the aftermath of destruction. I've accepted a position with a non-profit focused on financial education for at-risk youth. The salary is modest, the work demanding, and the office nothing like the corner suite I once occupied. It feels right in a way that nothing in my previous life ever did. I won't ask to see you again. Our meeting during my illness provided the closure we both needed. But I wanted you to know that the lessons you taught me, however painfully delivered, have become the foundation for whatever good I might do with the remainder of my life. The Caldwell legacy is secure in your hands. It always should have been, Jason. I close the email without responding, though something in his words resonates unexpectedly. The Jason who wrote this bears little resemblance to the entitled, manipulative man I married. Whether prison, illness, or genuine remorse has changed, him remains unclear, but the change itself is undeniable. Sunday afternoon arrives with perfect autumn clarity. I drive myself to the Caldwell family home in Beacon Hill, a Georgian townhouse that has witnessed 5 generations of family history. Eleanor answers the door herself, bypassing the housekeeper in favor of a personal welcome. "Emily," she embraces me warmly. "You look wonderful." The Caldwell home feels different outside the context of business meetings. Family photos line the hallway, including, I notice, several of me at foundation events and award ceremonies. I'm present in the family narrative despite my emotional distance. In the living room, Harold holds court from his favorite armchair, surrounded by his grandchildren, Jason's nieces and nephews, now teenagers, all enrolled in the trust fund education. Programs I established. "Emily." Harold's face lights up. Come in. Tell Hannah about the new scholarship program. She's considering business school next year." Just like that, I'm drawn into the family circle, not as the trustee or financial guardian, but as a knowledgeable relative with advice to offer. The conversation flows naturally, moving from education to travel plans to a spirited debate about the Red Sox's prospects for next season. Dinner is served in the formal dining room, but the atmosphere remains relaxed. I find myself seated at Harold's right hand, the traditional place for honored family. "A toast," Harold announces, raising his glass. "To family, those born to us and those who choose us. Both are equally precious." His eyes meet mine as glasses clink around the table. The message is clear. I've been family all along, whether I've acknowledged it or not. After dinner, as coffee is served in the library, Eleanor draws me aside. "I've wanted to tell you something for a long time," she begins, her voice low. "When Harold made you a trustee, it wasn't just because of your financial expertise. It was because he saw in you the qualities our family needed: integrity, courage, and the wisdom to make difficult choices. I was just protecting what needed protection." I demurred. "You did more than that," she insists. "You transformed protection into progress. The Caldwell legacy isn't just secure, it's meaningful in ways it never was before." She hesitates, then continues. "Jason mentioned his release date, November 17th. I'm aware, I confirm. His lawyer notified me." Eleanor studies my face. "He's not returning to Boston. He's accepted a position in Chicago with that financial literacy nonprofit. Said he didn't want to complicate your life or the family's recovery." I nod, unexpectedly touched by this final act of consideration from a man who once considered only himself. "The foundation board is meeting next week to review the Princeton proposal." I change the subject. "I'd value your input on the curriculum structure." Eleanor smiles, recognizing my deflection but allowing it. "Of course, though I suspect you already have a vision for it." Indeed, I do. The Caldwell Center for Financial Ethics will combine technical knowledge with ethical frameworks, teaching not just how to detect fraud, but how to foster cultures where it never takes root. A fitting legacy built from the ashes of betrayal. The evening concludes with promises to return soon, for Thanksgiving perhaps, and definitely for Christmas. As I drive back to my townhouse, I realize I've crossed a threshold. The Caldwells are no longer just my professional responsibility, they're my chosen family, independent of the man who first connected us. A week later, I stood in my office at Caldwell Tower, reviewing the final architectural renderings for the Princeton Center. The elegant building will house classrooms, research facilities, and a public exhibition space dedicated to financial ethics through history. Sophia enters with the afternoon briefing. The board unanimously approved the center. Construction begins in spring. Excellent. And the curriculum committee? All confirmed. Leading ethics professors from 5 universities, plus 3 reformed white-collar criminals who now work in prevention. An unprecedented approach. I nod, satisfied. Sometimes the most valuable insights come from those who've seen both sides of the equation. Sophia hesitates before continuing. There's one more thing. Jason Caldwell's lawyer sent over his final restitution payment. Every dollar accounted for, with interest. The note said, "Debt paid in full, though some debts can never truly be repaid." I accept the file, a sense of completion washing over me. File it with the case records. That chapter is officially closed. As Sophia leaves, I turn to the window, watching the Boston skyline shimmer in the late afternoon sun. 4 years ago, I stood at a similar window, plotting justice against a man who had betrayed not just me, but generations of family trust. Justice was served. The betrayer faced consequences. The legacy was secured. By any measure, my mission was accomplished years ago. Yet here I stand, having built something far more significant than I initially intended. Not just protection for one family's assets, but a fundamental reimagining of how generational wealth is secured. The woman who was once dismissed as a trophy wife now regularly addresses congressional committees on financial reform. My phone lights up with a message from Olivia. Financial Times profile confirmed for next month. They want to focus on the global impact of the Caldwell Protocol. I smile, thinking of Jason reading that article in Chicago as he begins his new life. Will he recognize the seeds of redemption planted in his downfall? Will he understand that his greatest contribution to the world came not from his success, but from his failure? Perhaps. But his journey is no longer my concern. My attention turns to the Princeton proposal on my desk. The Caldwell Center for Financial Ethics will train the next generation of financial guardians, men and women who understand that wealth without ethics is merely the potential for betrayal. Outside my window, Boston continues its afternoon bustle. Inside, I review the plans for a legacy that will outlast all of us. Harold, Eleanor, Jason, myself. A legacy built not on money, but on principles. That evening, as I prepared to leave the office, I paused at my assistant's desk. "Claire, please. Update my official biography for the Princeton announcement." "Of course, Mrs. Caldwell. Any specific changes?" "I consider this carefully. Remove all references to being formerly married to Jason Caldwell. That connection is no longer relevant to who I am or what I've built." Claire nods, understanding the significance of this edit. "Will there be anything else?" "Yes," I decided. Add a new line at the end. Emily Caldwell believes that true legacy is measured not by what we accumulate, but by what we protect and what we transform. As I exit Caldwell Tower, the setting sun bathes the city in golden light. A fitting metaphor, perhaps, for a journey that began in betrayal's shadow, but emerges now in wisdom's glow. The woman who was once underestimated has become the standard by which financial integrity is measured. The wife who was once betrayed has transformed that betrayal into a global force for financial security. The outsider who was once merely tolerated has become the heart of a family's renewed purpose. Some might call it revenge. Others might call it justice. I prefer to call it evolution, the natural progression from victim to victor to visionary. My driver holds the car door. "Home, Mrs. Caldwell?" "Yes," I reply, settling into the back seat. "And then dinner reservations." "At Sorelina. I'm meeting Harold and Eleanor to finalize the Princeton announcement." As the car pulls away from Caldwell Tower, I glimpse my reflection in the window. No longer the woman Jason thought he married, but the woman I was always meant to become. How fitting that his greatest contribution to the world was creating the circumstances that revealed my true capacity. How ironic that in trying to use me, he unleashed a power that ultimately transformed not just his family, but an entire system of financial governance. My phone chimes with an email notification. The Princeton board confirming the center's official name. The Emily Caldwell Center for Financial Ethics and Trust Governance. I smile, thinking of all the nights Jason spent explaining basic finance to his simple wife, never realizing he was lecturing a financial expert about his own impending downfall. Some lessons come at an extraordinary price, but as I've learned, the most valuable education often does. Boston glides past my window, the city where I was once merely a trophy wife and am now a financial pioneer. The journey from one to the other required pain, perseverance, and patience. But mostly, it required someone to make the mistake of underestimating me. For that, at least, I suppose I owe Jason my gratitude. The rest, I built myself. Looking for why? More? We've got 2 amazing stories ready for you right on screen. If this one touched you, these are absolutely worth your time. Click to watch them now. And hey, subscribe and hit that bell to never miss our latest uploads.